School Readiness for Parents and Children K through 12. And this book evolved from the heart of day-to-day operation in teaching school and understanding the love and dedication of parents for the success of their children. As an educator and loving parents and students, my heart prayerfully considered the one-on-one communication for student success. Parents, go with me just for a moment and answer these questions to determine if this book, School Readiness for Children K through 12, is for you. And when I say parents, it doesn't make any difference whether or not you are a divorced parent, or whether or not you are the custodial parents, or whether you and the child's father lives in a totally different location. This book was designed for you. It is not one of those traditional novels where you need to read it or page by page, chapter by chapter, or even more, you need a dictionary to interpret the message from each statement. No, it is written specifically for the parents who may be living in two different locations, for the parents who are on the move, and sharing with you multiple ways how you can be involved in your child's day. Before I begin, I want to share a recent testimony in my one of my teacher's assignments, and there was this young lady that I worked with her. She was my student for the entire year, and she had a lot of challenges, but with a prayerful heart, God gave me multiple creative opportunity to include her in class in her struggle and help her maintain success. Well, the bottom line is that I knew that she was in a separate household, where really actually living in a different state. She was living with her grandmother. But often in teaching, family living and healthy relationships, chapter units many times refer to family and relationships. So she would share that her father, whom she had not seen for many years, was in a different location, and how we continue to move forward in a positive way, putting focus on her career choices and how she can make choices to be successful for herself. So that was my target for her. Well, at the end of the year, she graduated. And the most amazing thing is that with the end of the graduation ceremony, students were, concerned. They was asking questions about, where her location was. She was on campus. They wanted to embrace and take pictures. Well, the final analysis is that her father came to her graduation, and they hurted her so bad. She was in tears, crying the whole time. She did not want to be among her friends in this situation. And the most hurtful thoughts that she was having is, all the time I needed you, you didn't call me. You didn't reach out to me. You didn't send me any type finances with all my graduation expenses. And now you show up at my graduation. That was the most embarrassing, hurtful moment of her life. And I can imagine in the eyes of the father, he might have been thinking some different things. He might have been thinking some type of recourse. But I wrote this book with that particular family in mind. I wrote this book for the mother, the single mother, who has no assistance, who no longer lives in her childhood communities where you had the grandmas and the aunties and all the relatives to help you go down to the school or pick up a child. You are out there perhaps in a distant location all by yourself in a different state, and your responsibilities are so heavy. And as an educator, I want to give you some simple facts, some very important information, how to make your day and your workload a little lighter and more successful as you try to be an involved parent with your children. And as I'm thinking right now, parental involvement, there are three main types of parental involvement. Just lately, there's been a fourth one added, and number one is the authoritarian parent. Traditionally, authoritarian parents, had the concept of, do what I say, no question asked. Of course, they wanted to, that sounds hard, but they wanted to make sure that they were engineering the success course for their children. And of course, there's the democratic, and I am also too just summarizing this. You can get my CD on or Google the parenting styles, and you will be able to read all the details. But the democratic one, where the child's feeling is considered, and parents are able to talk with children and get some response from them, and then they make a decision. And of course, then there's the permissive. The permissive parent is one where whatever the child wants, the child gets. And of course, the newly fourth parenting style has been added. It's called the unresponsive parents, or the uncooperative parent, or the unengaged parent. And this is one where the parent just is not a part of the child's life at all. But as we study that, it gave us a little bit more information to know that it's not necessarily that the parent purposely decided to be disengaged. Sometimes there was other factors, health issues, mental issues, economic issues, that cause parents to not be involved. So when this book is written on school readiness for parents and children K-12, it is not necessarily projecting for the uninvolved parent. That is the official name of that fourth category, the uninvolved parent. But we want to certainly pray to the Lord and ask Him to guide us, that we can be effective, present parents to guard and protect our children for their educational prosperity, as well as to guard their social health and social life. And above all, we want to not only be selfish concerning our children, we want to be concerned about our neighbor's children, our children's friend, to give a helping hand. We are our brother's keeper. Okay, let me ask you a few little questions here to determine if this book, School Readiness for Parents and Children K-12, which can be purchased at www.resolved-2010.com, or you may go to Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com for School Readiness K-12, author Wanda J. Powell. These are some questions. Parents, do you want your child to be someone of influence? Do you feel that your child's social and employability skills are just as important as their academic skills? Do you want your child to attract positive, helpful people? Do you value someone who has a good reputation? Do you believe that friends defines your character? Do you feel that it is okay to practice having the last word? Do you believe that the parent's participation influence the respect that's given to your child? Do you believe that evil communication corrupts good manners? We're talking about friends now. Is rest, proper nightly rest, important to you? Do you feel that the need to fit in and acceptance are important parent and child discussion topics. Well, give yourself a yes or write down a yes for each yes answer and giving yourself 10 points each. How well did you do? I hope that all of you made 70 and above. Well, about this book, I remember seeing a preschool logo that read, "Find Grandma's Love at Nico's Learning Center." Grandma's love was the pitch. The term grandma did not necessarily refer to the biological grandmother, but to the character which society had accepted as being a responsible, caring, sharing, and mature aged lady. This character may describe a calm, loving personality, but please remember, Grandma was no pushover. She would give you her last, but accepted no disrespect. Maybe this is how the term Big Mama came into being. There were many cases when Grandma or Big Mama may have been in error, but because of the love she had given to everyone, her motives were never challenged because of her commitment to the family. Keep this in mind as you reminisce about the mobility of today's families in our society. It is not like back in the days when the married, single parent could always count on the assistance of extended family members or grandma or big mom. Child care assistants were never a danger or worry. The children were always happy and safe. Sometimes the child care hours were for a few hours, or other times maybe overnight. Parents and Big Mama began preparing the children for school very early. Hear me now. Preparing children for school did not necessarily refer to all of their academic preparation. Many households referred to academic preparation as secondary preparation for school. Parents were fully committed to instilling a sense of value and fundamental commitment within their family that expressed the uniqueness of their family to the public. These values were distinguished or set apart from the other folks. Children left home with a sense of pride, representing their parents, family, church, and the community in which they live. There are 5 areas of family respect and family pride that were considered essential and very important. Number 1, the respect for elderly, family, and community. To acknowledge verbal respect, visible respect to the elderly, family, and community. There was household accountability, chores, neat organizational skills, mutual respect for belonging, no sloppy work, and you strive to do it well. Another area of family pride and respect was moral and spiritual accountability. Character development. Certain actions were not acceptable regardless of others. Regardless whatever your friends were doing, certain actions were not accepted by your family. Family worship and divine guidance. And they always told you to never ever give up. Self-respect and personal accountability. They taught you to love yourself, have self-values, choose friends who value you and your values and belief. And finally, there was academic accountability for family pride. Parental engagement and supervision for school accountability and academic success. Parents personally knew every adult who was responsible for their children. They made learning fun, and while building relationships, they oversaw tests, reviews, homework, class projects, school books being brought home, supplies used and carried to school. As a parent, what would be your preference of the statement below? Which do you deem as being most important? A child is an A student and always completes his or her work, or I encourage my child to complete assignments and get an A, but is my child respectful and does he or she allow other students to work without interruptions? If knowledge is power, then character must be key. Knowledge, my friends, gets the job, but character keeps the job. Grandmas are wonderful, and many of them are God sent. But parents are given the godly and legal authority to develop wonderful young men and women. Our community leaders, churches, community centers, libraries, school district, and community health organizations all partner to provide parents the available resources to assist the school readiness skills and educational maintenance. Begin early, dig deep, set priorities, get involved, and have realistic goal appropriate expectations for your children. Well, we won't have time to address a summaries or a syllabus of all the chapters, but maybe just a few to give you some idea of how important this book is and how you may be able to utilize it within your own home as you address your new school year with your children for academic and social success. Well, chapter 1 addresses home is where the heart is. Again, home is where the heart is. For a child, the primary location is everything to them of value and of utmost importance. A house refers to a construction or place that provides him or her shelter and protection from weather, sometimes even called a roof over your head. But a home, my friend, is sometimes characterized by the type of atmosphere within the house, such as the social, emotional, and intellectual interaction of the people living there. In various relationships, classes, strong discussions are developed as points of views are aired concerning the greater or lesser importance of a house versus a home. However the discussion goes, it is important that all who are assigned to children understands that the living conditions of each child echoes the reality of that child's school day. If the caregiver is sensitive to the need of the child, he or she will lend a third ear to hear the emotions of the heart of the child, as well as see the obvious behavior. You will think that the older the child, the clearer the avenues of communication would be. Not so, my friend. Older children may tend to remain silent to avoid scandal or embarrassment. A younger child may begin crying or say the problem is something totally different and not disclose what he or she is really feeling. My point is, whether you are working with a kindergartner or high schooler, both cases requires a high level of professionalism and respect for the child as you are able to project genuine concern and care as opposed to just digging out facts. Chapter 1 also addresses a child's wants versus a need. And you all who are parents, you understand our love for our children, and to give them and to be able to afford their wants is very, very important to us, because sometimes we have reflections of some of the wants that we wanted as a child and how or it made us feel to not get them. But my friend, wants versus needs are critical to the success of our children. And for the most part, children are getting more of their wants than their needs. Abraham Maslow speaks of it well in his hierarchy of children's wants and needs. And home still being the heart of the child, it's important that home life, the home environment, must be a setting that includes, embraces children the ability, and give them the ability to learn. The frustration, the danger, the loud noises, the environmental interruptions, the schedule. Children must have a schedule. They must have an environment that is conducive to learning. Some requires quiet time. Most certainly individualized opportunity for studying. If the home is not producing an environmental learning type atmosphere, then it makes it impossible for the child to do well in school. Well, chapter 2, I'm skipping about. There are so many nuggets in here. When you read the whole book, and this is not a thick book, this is a book that has not more than 150 pages, but it includes the most valuable, the diamond points of the success of a school day for parent and children. And again, for the parents who, even if they're living in a different location and have or do not have custodians, right, this gives you an opportunity and gives you strategies for how you can call, be connected with your child, even with the school, because you are the legal parent working together. Your child would know that you are involved in their day. And this is for male and female, all of your children, all of your children. Chapter 2, behavior expectation. There's so much to say about school bullying. So many tragedies, countless tragedies has resulted from school bullying, even suicide. May I share with you, and you already know, bullying did not begin at school. Bullying did not begin in the classroom. Bullying did not begin with bullying friends. Hear my heart in this. Bullying began at home. Bullying began at home. Bullying began among sisters and brothers and household members. Bullying begins child bullying parents. So when a child is allowed to bully an adult in a home setting or a family setting, that child automatically has no fear in bullying another adult in another location. So parents, not placing blame, but again sharing research, experience, strategies for homework. Homework so that your child may be socially and academically successful at school, for careers, and in the community. Care and nourishment are also homework opportunity for siblings among home. I'm sure it still exists, but I can vividly remember in my early years, sisters and brothers, when they were at school, nobody messed with sisters and brothers. Sisters and brothers had a dedication for caring for each other, or any family member. Just the fact that they're kin to me, they could be my cousins, but my heart became so subtle and heavy when I witnessed siblings, and one of the siblings was an average, normal, bodily able student, male student, high school, who had a disabled sister who was severely retarded, who had to be rolled into the school day in one of those special equipment type rollers, head support. And because they had spent many hours together, their home together, she recognized her brother in the hallway, and she was making little sounds, just wanting to connect with the brother. And the brother intentionally avoided her, ignored her, and came on to the classroom. That hurt me. Of course, I never spoke of it. And of course, I had an opportunity to work with special needs students, and I was able to show love and care. But I can understand that. And then when I was able to look at it from another perspective, perhaps he was embarrassed because his career projected, a different, more advanced lifestyle. But parents, the love and the loyalty for sisters and brothers cannot be overlooked. We begin with family, and our life will end with family gatherings. Help. Hallelujah. I'm not trying to make this into a Bible study, but everything we do is for the Lord. But love and care begins at home. Help them to embrace each other, regardless of their situations and conflicts. Because if family don't love you, who will? That is just the second highlights of the first chapter of Home is Where the Heart Is. Homework. Homework. Parents, if your child is under high school age, very few children are able to successfully complete their homework successfully for the next school day. It's part of the parent responsibility. I understand. My two children are college graduates, living their life in their careers. But I can tell you, as a single parent, when they went to school, kindergarten all the way through, I went to school. The schedule, the testing, to make sure the homework was in the book bag before they went to bed at night, or even when the cell phone were created. Yes, they were created during my time. How the reporting of the cell phone stations to make sure you were getting your homework. It is trying, especially on single mom. But it's going to be worth the effort. Asking a child, have you done your homework? And not reviewing it and checking it. It's like asking for an automatic F. And sometimes even a 0. If you don't make sure it's in the book bag at night, and everything that you're supposed to sign off on is in the book bag, it's like it never exists. There are so many distractions in a school day with friends and schedules, and even or when they get home, they're tired. You have to be that support person to ask the right questions and to supervise it to make sure they have everything in the right place. This new math, that's all I'm hearing about, the new math. They're not doing it like they used to. The problems are different. Somebody knows how to do it. Just ignoring it is not going to work. A child is not going to be successful if they get taught an equation a few weeks before the standardized test. They're just learning the tests. The school district is just going to get credit. But after your child has graduated, those principles that they have not learned, they are going to suffer the consequences on the ACT test and all the other college entrance tests. We just don't want to study for the tests. We want the principles to be instilled. I remember, again, and I've been teaching for some years, I had an opportunity to meet a mathematician co-worker. And this young lady, she was an excellent mathematician. Excellent. Any way it needed to be taught, she knew how to do it. But what amazed me was after school, one afternoon we were having a conversation, and she said, "Miss Prowell, did you not know that my mother could not read or write?" I was amazed. Because looking at her work ethics and her gifts, seems like her entire family might have been mathematicians. But she said, "No, Miss Prowell, my mother could not read or write. My father wasn't there. But she said, my mother would sit at the table with me to make sure I finished all my homework. She didn't know if it was correct or not. But her mom would look at the papers to make sure she had her name on it, to make sure everything was written nice and neat. Nice and neat is very important. Organization skills, very important. Her mother would go in her book bag every day to look at her work. Parents, when you don't look in your child's book bag, when you don't sign off on their work, the message is, I don't care. You don't say it. They believe you care. But as far as the academic score, that's what it's saying. She said my mother would open my book bag. She would sign all the necessary papers to make sure they were put back in my book bag before I went to bed at night. She would look at all my homework. If it was messy, she would make me do it over again. All of my writing had to be legible. That's accountability, parents. Those are skills that every parent can impart. It's not about whether or not you are a rocket scientist in math and science and reading, and it doesn't mean you have to know everything. But because the child was sitting at the table, couldn't watch TV and any of those other routine privileges, the mother joined the child in the sacrifice by being present. In other words, she was saying in her own way, I'm with you. You don't have to do all this by yourself. I am your partner. We're going to do this together. When children, hallelujah, feel that you care and feel that you are involved in whatever their project is, homework or class project, they are going to do well. And guess what? You're building relationships. You're getting used to being with each other. You get a chance to ask questions. And when you're spending this type of quality time together, weekends, Saturdays, or when they're having difficulty, it makes it easy for them to talk to you because you have been with them in the day-to-day struggle. Relationships and building positive relationships with parents. So awfully important for preparing your child for the school day. And while we're talking about school day, parents, don't miss the school open house. Don't miss the parent conference. Do you know the name of your child teacher? Now, I said your child. If you have multiple children, that does not excuse the responsibilities. If you have 5 children, that means there are 5 sets of class rules you need to know or have it written down. And there are what? 7 to 8 classes a day per student? You've got to know those teachers. I understand, parents. I've been there. I had 2 children. They're 10 years apart. They gave me just a little break. But that one, with my responsibility as a business owner and working a full-time job, that one stretched me. And with church, can't leave out church now. That stretched me. And sometimes I would say, Lord, how can I do this? But I said the right word. I said, Lord, because the Lord will show you. But I can tell you one thing, something has to give. Some of your social life may have to give. You may not be able to have the girlfriends party and some good church events you have to turn down. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, you've got to put your kids number 1. It's not going to last always. But I can promise you this. If you do it well, if you do it sacrificially, and you do it asking to the Lord, it's going to pay off. It is going to pay off. And right now, I'm living the life. Now my schedule can dictate what I want to do. Those skills I put in them, they are now instilling those same skills with their children. They are going to the parents' meeting. They are calling the teachers. They are checking the papers. They are locating errors. But if I had not spent the time with them, they wouldn't know how. Friends. Hallelujah. You've got to know your child's friends. Hallelujah. I'm not trying to be religious. It's just connecting with what I've seen and what I know and what I've experienced. It's like, wow. Your Sunday morning church friends, children church friends, may not be the same character friends Monday through Friday at school. Know your child's friends. Know your child's friends' parents. Take an opportunity to get them together. Do things together. Do the value and career search check. Birds of feather flocks together. Did I say not love? No, I'm not saying not love. But you can have guarded, loving, kind fellowship. And I can promise you this. If your goals for your child does not meet your child's friends' goal, they're going to cut your child loose. Yes, they are. They're going to cut them loose. But if you find a child who needs some inspiration, who just don't have it, then they're going to cling to you. In other words, they're going to be following the same rules and expectations that you have for your child. They're not going to cause your child to get in trouble. They're not going to have the secrets. And even more so, if at all possible, fellowship, youth events. This is an opportunity to do a positive thing, but it is not an opportunity for you to ignore and assume that smiling faces are encouraging positive characteristic in your child. That's important. School readiness for parents and children K-12 also addresses the dangers of trying to fit in. I think the book asked the question like this. Who am I? Parents, Do you really know who your children are? I'm not talking about high schoolers. I'm talking about as early as kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. There are headship, peer authorities in every category who has little followers and who are embracing kids that wants to be part of their fellowship, they call it. And they know exactly who to embrace. And these are the kids who wants to fit in. They want to be the man. They want to be popular. A danger, my friend. To want to be popular is the most dangerous mindset of any individual, especially a young child. And this is for the young ladies as well as the young men, the girls and the boys. If you're trying to fit in, you're going to run into some very adverse, detrimental type characteristic that is going to cause a liability to your academic as well as career life. I know what I'm talking about. Well, I can say this. I've seen numbers of students, and the ones who are not trying to fit in, it may be because they are connected with a strong family member. In other words, they just know, I don't mind eating lunch by myself. I don't mind being in a classroom where I don't have a lot of friends, as long as I can get my work done. And parents, it's your responsibility to talk with your child. You need to know if your child is able to hear the instructions in a classroom. If your child's classroom is one that is of a noise level that they're not able to hear instructions, then you need to be involved. You need to be involved. There are so many stages of demanding parental involvement that parents are not aware. Because I know you care. I know you care. Count up the cost. That's another chapter. Count up the cost. Have the discussion with your child. Count up the cost. Many of our actions does not just affect us as an individual. And this is true for a child, teenager, or an adult, or senior adult, as myself. Very few things that we can be involved in that affect just us personally. How is it going to affect your household member? Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, grandma, papa, auntie, them. There are certain actions affects the whole family. Parents, we've got to build those genuine relationships with our kids. And research says we understand the benefits of parents being united in a marital type relationship to give each other support. But as far as a child's success is concerned, that's not the most important thing. Whether or not you are married or separated or ever been married. The most important thing that the child see you all working together for his or her benefit. Benefit on the important things. The cause. The teacher, administrative contact. Being the authority godly leader for your child. There's so much to be said about that. So much to be said about that. You are the protector of your children. You set the tone for what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And sometimes, depending on the age of the child, you may have to get additional help. The counselors. Even though I was an educator, I stayed in contact with all my children counselors and the administrators. You got to do your homework for the success of your children. Counting up the cost. Some actions, some disciplinary actions will require the discipline from the school office. The other times, it goes beyond the school office. Some things just become legal. And character is important. School is an opportunity to network your careers. The faculty and staff are there to embrace your children and to connect them with advanced resources that are going to follow them and embrace them for a lifetime. Help them to understand that school is a special place for careers and enhancement. It is not a partying club. It is not recreational, even though some recreation is provided. But again, it's all about advancement. It's about advancement. It's to get you to the next level. The next level may mean scholarships. It may mean sports assignments. But you want to connect with people whom you would not have any other opportunity to connect with. School is important. And it is a very, very, very advantageous opportunity. Well, parents, I would love to share the entire book with you, but there is so much to share. I hope that I've given you enough information that would initiate your actions for becoming more involved. It says just look in the book. For School Readiness, K-12, written by Wanda J. Prowell, who is a veteran family consumer science educator, who is also a 14-year Christian professional child development, Christian preschool, who a partner with Mississippi State University and East Mississippi Junior College. This book was birthed from my experience in working with parents and children and community organizations. And we love our kids. This is not a Black History February once month in a year type celebration. Parental involvement is every day, and we can no longer forward our responsibility in the failure or success of our children to other individuals. Let's take an opportunity right now while the year is fresh. Let's begin to build healthy, strong relationships with our children for a successful